Welcome to Kozoch. Shalom, shalom. I didn't have any music lined up. Every time I play the music, I get a I get a hit for doing it on YouTube. Welcome. How you guys doing? I kind of need that camera down because it looks like I'm looking down when I'm looking at the screen here. Shalom, shalom. Tonight, as the days of Noah. From Matthew 24, Yeshua talked about as the days of Noah. When the disciples asked him, what will be the signs of thy coming? It is searchable terms, and I'm going to show you that tonight. So we're going to let the room fill up, have a little bit of fellowship, and then we'll get into what I got to show you. It's a lot of hard verses in that table. I shared a little bit of it with you earlier today in a bumper for tonight. And we're going to talk about that table tonight in depth, in detail. And I will be interacting with you. No, that wasn't a signal. I live on a farm and there's a lot of wind, and so things get in your eyes out here like cat hair, dust. Last week I had something in my eye. But the opposite eye. As a matter of fact. Here's the two things you got to learn on a farm. You're always going to step in poop, and you're going to get stuff in your eyes. And the main thing is not to touch your eyes with your hands, and that's why I try to, do something like that. Because I did get pink eye not too long ago because I had something in my eye and I was trying to get it out. And your hands are always dirty on a farm. You're constantly washing hands, using soaps. And anyway, right after I got off the broadcast, I went and Darla put some colloidal silver in my eye because one of you guys said it was good for pink eye. And I did my head back and I let it kind of drain to one side, and then I wiped up under it, and I could feel a grit of sand that was actually on there. So good thing I wasn't rubbing my eye last week, because I would have probably scratched my lens or something, and that wouldn't have been good. How's the sound coming through? Guys, I want to show you something. I put out not too long ago that we're going to be starting a school. And I'm going to be teaching some to use the Bible codes. We're going to be starting with a group. Here are the first ones in, and I'm amazed. Still about half, another stack like this to come back in. Some 40-something applications went out, and we still have them coming in. So we will begin the process very soon, guys. So some of you are emailing me more than one time. So I know you are anxious to get started and get learning, but we have to go through a process because, I have to get to know you. And so I'll be calling some of you on the phone here very soon and starting that process and, communicating with you and going further. Those that I choose will be provided a code program. You're going to be starting with Keys to the Bible, then Code Finder, Millennium Edition, and then a very select few will work with Chris and I on the Torah Soft. So there's a progression here, and I'm going to be training you in all of these. And I'm hoping that some of you will stick to the Code Finder Millennium Edition. You see Chris is now using that. You've been seeing some of the English tables he's been putting out. There is a need for those that know how to use Code Finder. It's a very complex code system. It has the Greek, the Hebrew, and the English. It's also got monkey text, which is text where you can test, like control tests, Gone with the Wind, Moby Dick, these kind of things. You can find random occurrence in these texts, and you'll see that when you use the program. But to take it further, to find things that have some sort of, cohesive meaning, it really it falls apart. In other words, random occurrence does happen, and even in the programs that I use, and I tried to get this across to the Mr. Canton, Ohio man, that random occurrence happens about 80% of the time. So you have to be very careful what you put out as a table. What is real codes? What are not real codes? Well, tonight, folks, you're going to see a real code table. It is a very small, condensed area, around about 8,000 letters wide. What do you mean by that, code searcher? Well, you've heard me talk about cylinders before. Different size cylinders. You know, and I'm using a couple of PVC pipes as some props, but these are different cylinders. Now, when you search for a term, what's a searchable term? As the days of Noah from Matthew 24, which we're going to look at in a minute. Is it encoded? Yes, it is. And it's in its own cylinder that Yahuwah has chosen. Code searcher did not choose the cylinder width. I only asked in the computer sense, was the term there? We can do in milliseconds what would take Isaac Newton years and years to do by hand. So we're going to be looking at one of those terms tonight. And I'm going to show you. Now, each one of the verses that ends up in the zone that we're going to be looking at, that would be a matrix. You see, your term would be vertical, because we're taking the scripture like a spiral and wrapping on the outside of a cylinder so that we get a vertical term. You can see there I've got a little schematic here, just for demonstration purposes. Nothing, it means nothing. Just so you can see that how it would appear. The window we would be looking at on my computer screen would be something like that. So you could slightly turn it. You could actually turn the whole cylinder and look on the other side in scriptures that we're not going to be in at the moment. We're going to focus on this window, which is called the matrix. This would be the table that appears with the vertical term, as the days of Noah. Where did that come from? Some of the people who've never been to the Brit Hadashah, seeing how I've learned that I've had almost 7,000 hours watched in Israel, and it's a good chance that those that watching did not really have good access coming up in their religious teachings of the Brit Hadashah. So we're going to scratch the surface tonight and talk about Matthew 24, the Olivet Discourse. This is when the disciples came to Yeshua, and let me get a screen capture. And they said, can I just read this for you? As you hear the rooster crowing in the background, yeah, we are on the farm. And Yeshua went out, and I'm not reading. Now, this is the King James. For the King Jamesers, it's mighty really, this resource is a mighty good resource to go to. Right now I'm looking at the King James. We could go to the ISR, which has the restored name in it. Let's just do that. And going out, Yeshua went out from the set-apart place. This would be the temple. And he taught, and his taught ones came near to point out to him the buildings of the set-apart place. And Yeshua said to them, do you see all of these? He was talking about the stones of the temple. Truly I say unto you, not one stone shall be left upon another at all. It shall be thrown down. And he was talking about the destruction of the temple, of course, which happened in AD 70. It did happen. And Yeshua answered them, said, let me back up. And he sat down on the Mount of Olives, and the taught ones came up to him separately, saying, say unto us, when shall this be? And what shall be the sign of your coming and the end of the age? Which are both searchable terms, folks. Signs of your coming and the end of the age. This one happens to be a very interesting one because end of the age appears vertical, and horizontal we have tribulation cutting it right in the middle. And we're going to talk about that table at another time. But my point is that these terms are clearly in Matthew 24. Yeshua was giving the future reader of this information critical to the end times. Yeshua absolutely knew there were going to be codes revealed in the end times, folks. Let's face it, this is the right hand of the Father, the Son of the Most High. So he knew. And so therefore, it is my assertion to you that he was giving us a outline of searchable code terms. And here they are. And Yeshua answered them and said, take heed that no one leads you astray. You see that going on all over the place right now, leading people astray. There'll be many to do that. For many shall come in my name, or a false name, saying, I am a Messiah, and shall lead many astray. And you shall begin to hear fightings and reports of fightings. Wars and rumors of wars is what it's in the King James. See that you're not troubled, for these things have to take place, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and reign against reign, and there shall be scarcity of food, and deadly diseases. So there be famine and pestilence, and earthquakes in diverse places. And all of these are the beginning of birth pangs. That's a searchable term. However, in the King James, I believe at this point in verse 8, it says the beginning of sorrows, if I'm not mistaken. Then shall they deliver you up to affliction and kill you. And you shall be hated by all nations for my, what? Name's sake. Those who are called by his name. And then shall many stumble. Could this be a falling away? And they shall deliver one up another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall ride and lead many astray. Notice the reoccurring warning that many would be led astray because of the increase of lawlessness, and the love of many shall become cold. And here is the promise. But he who shall have endured to the end shall be saved. This is the good news of reign shall be proclaimed in the world as a witness unto all nations, and then the end shall come. All right, let's just take note here. By verse 14 of Matthew 24, there is no mention of a secret rapture. Nowhere in here. As a matter of fact, he is promising us that there's going to be many that are led astray, and there are going to be some that are to afflict and kill you, and you shall be hated by all nations for what? My name's sake. That the love for one another will grow cold, that false prophets shall rise up and lead astray. But what does he promise? He who shall endure to the end shall be saved. No mention of the rapture. This is the good news of the reign shall be proclaimed to all the world as a witness to all the nations, and the end shall come. So when you see the abomination that lays waste, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, set up in the set-apart place, and listen, folks, even in the ISR, we see here Matthew makes a side note. He who reads, let him understand. Let's pause here for a moment. Just for a moment. And go back to the King James and see what is said here. The abomination of desolation. You see here, Matthew makes a side note. Whosoever readeth, let him understand. What is he saying here, folks? I submit to you, and I know this upsets a handful of you because you message me every time I bring this up, that before the time of Yeshua, and that's why Matthew is making a side note, Yeshua absolutely knew this. He knew the story of the Maccabees. He knew the story of the desolation of the temple that happened several hundred years before the time of Yeshua. This happened with Antiochus Epiphanes, folks. So what is Matthew telling us here? This is a huge sign, signal that something deeper is taking place here, because this has already taken place, the abomination of desolation. In the end times, this could have a complete different meaning. I just wanted to point that out before we go any further. We have yet to get to the search term. This is so much to cover in just a few minutes, folks, so have some patience. Let those who are in Yehuda flee to the mountains, and let him who is on the housetop not come down to take whatever's out of his house. You don't have time for that at this point. And let him who is in the field not turn back to get his garments. Woe to those who are pregnant and to those who are nursing children in those days. And pray that your flight does not take place in the winter or on the Sabbath, which this is universal, folks, around the world. Right here, because there's always different seasons in different places of the earth. So Yeshua is telling the people that are in different time zones to pray that your flight does not take place in the winter or on the Sabbath. For when there shall be great distress, such has not been since the beginning of the world until this time, nor shall there ever be. And if those days were not shortened, another search term right here. If the days were not shortened, I searched that out. I believe this is a huge meaning. Yeshua's telling us something here. If the days were not shortened, no flesh would be saved for the sake of the chosen ones, or the elect in your King James. Those days shall be shortened. So they will be shortened for the sake of the elect. If anyone says to you, look, here is the Messiah, or there, do not believe. And that goes for the Rael cult, who I just addressed on Facebook not 10 minutes before this broadcast, folks. They're hassling Rabbi Glazerson, this cult, who telling people that the Messiah is already here. However, the Mount of Olives is yet to be split in two. And we know that happens during the second coming. It hasn't happened. Why? For false prophets, for false messiahs, Rael, and false prophets, Richard Ruff, shall arise. And there shall show great signs and wonders, even with like the Bible codes, for instance. And that's what he does on his site over there. So as to lead astray. This is the warning to those of you that follows this cult. And even those elect or chosen ones that go and watch those videos, you better be careful, because you could even be led astray. Yeshua says, see, I have forewarned you. And indeed he has. 2,000 years ago, he told his disciples, for you and for your sake, of what was going to take place. So if they were to say to you, look, he's in the desert, do not go out. And guess what they did with that Rael cult? They went to Baja, Mexico, because they said the Messiah was there. Here's a warning from Yeshua. Do not go out or look. He is in the innermost rooms. Do not believe. For as the lightning comes from the east and shines to the west, so shall the coming of the Son of Adam be. And that's another search term. Coming of the Son of Man. For whatever the body for whatever the dead body is, there the eagles shall be gathered together. And after another right here, look how close these are coming together, these search terms. Immediately after distress, or after the tribulation that's of those days. The sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give us light, as the stars shall fall from heaven. We know that's going to take place. It says in Revelation chapter 8. And the powers of heaven shall be shaken. We know that's going to be taking place. Chapter 8 and 9. And then further into Revelation. Here's another. And the sign of the Son of Adam shall appear in heaven. Then the tribes shall mourn when they see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and much esteem. Yeshua told Pilate that, if I'm not mistaken. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds in heaven with power and much esteem. And he shall send his messengers with a great sound of a trumpet. This is the first mention of anything that alludes to a rapture. But keep in mind, this is a Jewish Messiah talking to Jewish men about Jewish things. So this also has great meaning. Okay? And they shall gather together. This is a harvest term. Gather together. Asaph, Nekateph, the Gabbats, the gathering. His chosen ones from the four winds and the four ends of the heavens to the other. This is the four corners of the world. He sends his messengers to gather his elect. Wherever you are, folks, if you're part of that elect, you're counted in there.
Is there a way to refresh the page? It's very fuzzy.
Very fuzzy. I'm apologizing, and let's see. Let's do this. Can I increase it and it's even better? I apologize for the resolution on this, folks. Huh?
I have to deal with the delay.
Yeah, it's a 30-second delay, so we'll just see if it's any better. I can even go even higher.
Awesome. It is getting better.
Okay. Sorry about that. Hey, if you noticed that during the broadcast, just let me know and I'll shut up.
They did let us know, but time I read the post here, it was.
Where are you at? On another page?
I'm just.
All right.
Other people.
Let's get back to it. We have yet to get to the search term, folks, because there's so many in this text. All right. Here we go. And learn this parable Yeshua's telling you. And by the way, all of Matthew 24 is encrypted. He's talking cryptically. So we are to understand that every verse is probably something deeper than on the surface. In other words, he's probably not being literal in some places that are assumed that he's being literal. Learn the parable from the fig tree. When the branches already become tender and puts forth its leaves, you know the summer is near. Okay? You can look at nature and discern what season you're in. So you also, when you see all these things that are taking place, know that he is near at the doors. Truly I say unto you, this generation shall by no means pass away until all this has taken place. Okay? Still, no rapture. Now he talks about a great trumpet, but there's no illusion. He shall send with a great trumpet, and they shall gather together his chosen ones from the four winds and from the four heavens to the other. Then it stops. That's all it says. That's the closest we can get to some sort of a rapture. And even still, we're well into tribulation, folks. But I submit that I believe that there are those that are still here. So you also, when you see these things, know that he is near at the doors. Truly I say unto you, this generation shall by no means pass away until all this takes place. The heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall by no means pass away. And here he's saying, concerning that day or hour, this is the verse where people say he is being literal. I disagree. I believe he is speaking cryptically here. He is alluding to Yom Teruah, the day and hour no one knows. But concerning the day and hour that no one knows, not even the messengers of heaven, but my Father only. As the days of Noah, here is our search term, so shall be the coming of the Son of Man. As they were in the days before the flood, eating and drinking and marrying and giving in marriage, until the day of that Noah entered to the ark. And they did not know until the flood came and took them all away. So shall the coming of the Son of Man be. So there is a catastrophe, something catastrophic that takes place out of nowhere. Here's another place where someone cites and says, this is an example of a rapture. Well, here we are further into the text. But I submit to you, it says here, then two shall be in the field, and one is taken, and the other is left. Taken, what does that mean? Well, you could cross the street in New York City and be hit by the bus, and the Father take you out of this world. So two could be in the field, and one is indeed taken, and the other is left. But what does that mean? Does that mean rapture? Well, in a sense, yeah. We can all be taken or raptured at any moment if the Father chooses to take us out of this world, folks. Two shall be grinding at the mill. One is taken and the other left. Same thing. Watch therefore, because you do not know what hour your master is coming. And know this, that if the master of the house had known what the hour of the thief would come, he would have watched and not allowed his house to be broken into. The watchmen on the wall are aware when the thief comes, folks. That's what it's telling. You know a thief is coming. You know the Messiah is coming. We're to be watchful and not allow to be caught off guard. Because of this, be ready too. For the Son of Adam is coming at an hour when you do not expect him. And some are clearly say this means that it's imminent, which is completely wrong. The rapture or the Netketef is not imminent. It is an appointed time. It is at the second coming. When the second coming happens, that's when it happens. It's interesting, many people do not expect that to take place. Who then is trustworthy and wise servant, whom his master has set over his household to give them food in season? Blessed is that servant whom his master, having come, shall find so doing. Truly, I say unto you that he shall set him over all his possessions. But if that evil servant says in his heart, my master is delaying his coming. How many people are saying that right now? Putting out matrices with some cookie cutter code program saying that the rapture was going to happen on so-and-so. And then to spin themselves out of that clear false prophet statement, this is what they say. The master's he's delaying. He's delaying. Or I didn't understand what I was looking at the time. New information came in. And begins to beat his fellow servants and eat and drink with drunkards. The master of the servant shall come in a day when he does not expect it, and at an hour he does not know. He's completely unaware. And he shall cut him into and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. And there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And there's 51 verses of Matthew 24. We're only going to talk about one scratch of the surface, like I said, of as the days of Noah. So, how long did it take to cover that? How many minutes? It seemed like forever. Matthew 24 is just loaded, folks. Loaded with search terms. I'm only one guy. And I have all these terms. And they're progressive tables, which means there's still things that are coming up in those tables as I look at them. For instance, as the days of Noah, I looked this one up a couple of years ago. And I just found something the other night, which was tsunami. Nibiru is in there. Not just the short version of Nibiru, but the long. It's 6 letters. Amazing. All of the verses that are in this are specific to the end times. They have yet to happen. For instance, Joel, the day of Yom Yahuwah. Yet to happen. Let me give you a screen capture. Hold on just a second. And this is what I'm talking about here. You can see in here, tsunami. I showed you this earlier. Up at the top, up here, we've got Nibiru that appears. And it's also here. And that's what I'm talking about. So let's take a little break right here before we get into the table and get to some questions. We got anybody questions? Any fighting? Do I need to ban anybody? How about that? Because I know we don't have any moderators right now
Everybody's
in
playing
there.
reasonably.
Thank you for being polite and reasonable and civilized, and even the ones who are hating on this channel.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to ban anyone. Certainly want you to learn something. I don't want you to disrupting, but if you do, I have to do something about it.
A couple of us don't have, the scroll's not working right. We get to the end and it flips us back to the beginning. So that's sort of different today. Fire or Waters, house, I think, and car was flooded.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is Tara. Let's be praying for Tara, folks, in Houston, where there's a lot of floods and things happening in Texas. And this is a young lady who's been affected by that in the chat room tonight. Yeah, so we see these things happening all over the world. It is definitely upon us. And so, you know, one of the unpopular things that I've had to do here recently is reveal to people that there is indeed, in my opinion, in my research, a misunderstanding of rapture. And this is going to be this is going to be the sad reality to many who are going to find themselves deep in tribulation in this country. It's going to be coming upon us very soon. Here's the key. How do you know when it's all going to start? Well, I believe it's this. I believe when we see an impact from outer space, chapter 8, this is when it starts getting really bad. We know when Satan is cast out, he has 42 months. He's got a very short period. So an indicator of when it's going to get really bad is something that hits the earth, folks. That's my conclusion on that. And based on some confirmations that the Father has done here recently, I don't even know if I should reveal this, honey, about the vision I had and then the bad news. Yeah, that's kind of hard to decide right here on the spot. Anyway, Father had just confirmed to me recently that the sharpness of what I was hearing from him, the accuracy of that in an instant that happened in our lives. I won't get into the details of that out of respect, but I can tell you I'm getting the same thing in what I'm showing you as the days of Noah. Also, a table that I want to share with you. You've already seen possibly the beast system or the mark of the beast. Consider these things when you're looking at these videos. This is not something that's just random occurrence like you've been seeing somewhere else. This is real codes. This is beyond probability and random occurrence. This is highly improbable that this would be random, especially this 10-letter sequences of some of these tables. You guys with me? Listen, I'm not trying to spread fear. Just keep that right here. It's not about that. I want you to know the truth and not be caught off guard. I was a pre-trib believer, and from what the Ruach has shown me, that there was an error in that doctrine. Now, the clustering of these verses that I'm going to read to you in just a moment are very serious. So it's not me that's really putting the warning out. This is the Father, and because if you think about this like a complex, combination lock, each of these verses that come through here, and all the words and varieties of factors here combined point to a certain picture. Now, there are many terms here that are related to the end times, like a CERN. There's never been a CERN in ancient times, but yet it's here in this table. We have in one line, I said this in the bumper that I did, rapture and war, right in one line, running right through in the days, right there.
Do you want to make that a big?
Well, yeah, I can do that so they can see it. I wonder if I increase the font, if it makes it any better. Let's see. So, when I increase the font, is it any better for you guys? How about it?
Not on that little size.
Hold on, I'm going to do it on 11.
Okay.
Try 11. Is it any better? Has it changed?
It's gotten bigger on the screen, but it's still not right. Nope. Now hold on. Here we go.
Is that a little better? What happens when you...
I can make it big, and then we lose the chat on my screen, but that's what we got now.
Yeah, it's still blurry. I'm so sorry about the resolution, guys. I work with what I have. Anyway. I'm going to put, how about this? We can put a link to the actual PDF of this table so they can see that. And I'll also include it at the bottom of the archive video.
Yet?
Excuse me?
Is that on our new website yet?
Yes, it is over there. Here is the table that we're looking at now. Be patient, audience. I'm sending you some information that you can look at, a hard copy of this same table. I'm going to have to pass it to you at Facebook.
All right.
Yeah, I think it's the very first one that just came up on that page. Yeah,
days?
that's amazing. And by the way, folks, a guy that's working with this ministry to help us out is going to probably be calling during the broadcast so that we can kind of test something concerning the webpage. Okay. There you go, at Facebook. There.
One question. Did you want me to send the one from Facebook or the one from the code searcher?
Well, either one. It's the same
Because
thing.
I just grabbed it.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. As long as they have it. And we'll put it down in the archived video as well, so that you can look at it along with me looking at the terms. Sorry about the Pepsi plug, but talking for so long your mouth gets dry, as Darla can testify. All right. So many of you have that PDF now, so I'm going to get into reading that for you.
I'm going to grab it on Facebook too, just in case.
All right, well, I will. Wait a minute. Was on the wrong table. Here we go. I want to focus on one side here, right here. I talked about this earlier in the bumper that I did. Before we get into reading the actual verses, I want to cover some of the terms that are in here. Now, a few months ago when I did this video, we talked about Shiva. They had this dancing idol out in front of CERN, which is right here. So we have a CERN in here. It's also in the blue there as well, capping this sequence of letters. Keep that in mind. We have Nephilim in there. Nephilim stopping right here. And in reverse with these letters we have from Lucifer, from Hillel. Those are the same words, same name used in Isaiah referring to Satan, Lucifer. We have Satan right here, Hasatan. But look what this vertical anomaly that happens to come together with Satan is behold, Hine. These three letters right here, behold, Satan. And then vertically with this word here, which is wickedness, we have evil is praised. And that runs right through Satan. Wickedness here, and it's here as well. It's the same word. Wickedness, wickedness. Here is Meshepet. This is judgment. Two judgments there. Now, wickedness right here with evil is praised and Satan, behold Satan. Look what comes through here. The United States. The resh in wickedness is the United States right there. Topping over here, this is the letters that mean eagle. We have the gates of fire, or I looked at it, that it must be talking about hell. There's a connection to CERN over here. We also have the destroyer running through there. So being that it has from Lucifer in reverse, and the context of that scripture running through there with America, with that bet, and the kuf of this word here, which is malachim, which is angels. We're talking about fallen angels in CERN and Nephilim. We have malachim in the pink, stopping with the mem in wickedness. This is fallen angels, folks, right here. Involved in where wicked or evil is praised. Look at this. Speaking of CERN, look at the symmetry of this word right here, which is a word for timbrels. You see there the symmetry, the two tavs on the end, the two vavs, and the two pays in the middle. That's the word for timbrels. We have Yom Yahuwah up at the top in the plain text, and Joel here. And let me just scroll over to the other side because I want to show you there's a mention of Nibiru up at the top. I mentioned this just a moment ago. Get it to it. Here we go. Nibiru up at the top. This is the long version. Not too far from that is the judgments. But we have in reverse in this direction, and this is in Joel, the Chakav, the star. We have a comet right here in the red letters. In the purple, we have Elijah. Elijah is also here. But we also have Netzri, which is the early word for what modern people call Christians today. Netzri. This is also the side that has tsunami. This was found just a few days ago. Tsunami and tsunami here. And the thing about this, in two different places of this same table, it's exactly the same number, which is 7986. 7984 is the access term. This is a very small cylinder, by the way. So 7986 is the tsunami here. We also have it in a small skip. I think it's 32 letters in between, down here at the bottom. We have a year of 2015 appears. 2015 down here. And could this be that this was the beginning or the start of as the days of Noah? Could be. Let me make sure we have all the terms before I get into the verses. Any questions so far, Darla?
I just asked them if they would hold their questions until the end and then repost them, then I can grab them.
Yeah, just please be patient and let's get through this because this is a lot of data, folks. This is overwhelming. And this is not most of these are 5 letters. And we're not splitting the letters up. This is equal letter distance between each. When you split the letters up, say I'm looking for 3 letters and then somewhere else I look for the other 2, that's cheating. That's manipulation of codes. It's an equal letter between each one, which means you put all 5 of those letters in the search. On this side of the matrix, we have another Satan, which is right here in the book of Job, you can see. And it's in close proximity with the 5 letters that make up the word destruction or destroyer, with the Pope and Raphaim here. We have a Shemitah here with judgment, Meshepet. And we got an Obama up here with Abaddon that goes, and if I'm not mistaken, it's a 44 skip with Obama connected to it. All right, if you didn't know, Obama is the 44th president, so it does have a numerical significance in that. Let me get back down to an 8. So, and straighten this up. As the days of Noah, those are what are called search terms of this matrix. This is the axis term or the initial search term that you would find. 10-letter sequence, vertical. That's an amazing find. Now, let's get into the verses. Now let's see what Yehovah has to say since we've unlocked this table, because that's what this 10-letter sequence is. It unlocks. These are the cogs in the combination lock that are being unlocked. Now we have the verses, so let's look at them. How are we doing?
Doing well.
What's the count?
I don't have it tonight. YouTube's kind of messed up. I don't have the account, and this keeps shooting back up to the top.
Really? So are we
Yeah.
even broadcasting?
We are. They're all talking to me.
Really could. Well, that could be bots. Let's confirm
Well,
that we're actually broadcasting.
We've got Heather Mist there, and we've got Desiree.
I want to make sure we're broadcasting, folks, because here recently we've been changing over to a new platform. Decodesearcher.com is something we're going to be doing. I'm going to be embedding the player on there so you can actually go to my webpage and watch the broadcast. But
Their comments are significant to what we're speaking about.
right.
Yep. I believe they're all here. We just don't know who's here. Except those talking to us.
That's never happened.
Painter said he's having problems with his scroll too.
What's the count, folks, that are at my channel right now? Does it give it to anybody else? It's not giving us a count. It's such a distraction. You see how these
It really is, 'cause
distractions come.
I can't get to the bottom of the comments.
Well, you can hit right there.
I can hit here?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're supposed to.
Well, that's what's happening.
Just a second. That's my IT guy. Hang tight.
Okay. All right, I'll try that. Sure.
It's one of those real-time, on-the-fly technical things you gotta, just address. There's those that try to. And here's what's going on.
Okay, I'm in the apprenticeship.
when I do this kind of thing, there are those that are trying to capture this and derail
Gotta
it
do the
and do
pictures.
something else. Darla is working on something, so if you hear her talking in the background, she's on the phone.
Yeah.
So we're getting to the point where we're going to be completely secure. There is, like I said in another broadcast, it's military grade server. So I've noticed my accounts doing like they were doing exactly 1 year ago in Dallas. People were trying to take control of them. So even in real time, it seems like things are trying to, take place. And yes, here we are. So hang in there.
All right, it went through. Thank you, and Yahuwah bless you.
Alright, so let me ask you a question. You didn't think they have that little editing icon up in the far right that says that you can modify this, right?
Yeah,
I'm sorry about the interruption, folks. Just hang tight.
I've seen it. I've seen it, but not on here.
Oh, okay, then that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine.
Okay.
Go ahead and tell Justin to go ahead and share it and just, just with the code switcher on, just the apply tab.
Mm-hmm.
I hear him.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, bye.
So we're good. We're good. All right. We're good. We have 94 viewing at the moment.
That's amazing. They let you
by
know
the way.
that?
Yeah, I had to do some things.
Okay.
When I was in Dallas, somebody tried to box me into a fake internet with all these fake different skins and things on my computer. Nothing like that happening now, but it was bad then. This is a piece of cake. So see how the training that I had to go through applies today, how you can think on the fly and just kind of know what's what. All right, back to the scripture.
Awesome. It's very much working.
Okay, check with your monitor and make sure, well, I can do that here.
Yes.
Let's see if the screen, here it is. All right. Now, we're looking at As the Days of Noah, encoded, folks. I'm going to start with the very first one here, which has the Kakav. You can see that right here, the star. It also has Elijah in there, the abacus effect. It is not there normally. Here in Joel. The second chapter, and we'll be starting, let's start with verse 10. Now keep in mind everything that we read in Matthew 24, and I apologize for the intermission of interruptions in between the teaching here. But remember when it talked about the heavens, watch what it says. The earth shall quake before them, and the heavens shall tremble, and the sun and the moon shall be dark, and the stars shall withdraw their shining, and Yahuwah shall utter his voice before his army, for his camp is very great, for he is strong that executed his word. For the day of Yahuwah is a great and terrible day. Who can abide it? So the Yom Yahuwah, folks, is a great and terrible day. What is that? Well, that could mean those that are in him are gathered together. That is a great thing. The terrible thing would be those tares that are going to be dealt with. Who will know it if he return and repent and leave a blessing behind him? Excuse me. Let me back up. Now, therefore also now saith Yahuwah, turn ye even to me with all your heart, and with fasting, and with weeping, and with mourning, and rent your heart, and not your garments, and turn unto Yahuwah your Elohim, for he is gracious and merciful, slow to anger, and great of kindness, and repenteth him of the evil. Who knoweth if he will return and repent, and leave a blessing behind him, even a meat offering and a drink offering unto Yahuwah your Elohim. Blow the trumpet in Zion, and sanctify a fast. Call a solemn assembly. Gather the people, and sanctify the congregation. Assemble the elders, and gather the children, and those that suck the breast, and let the bridegroom go forth from his chamber, and the bride out of her closet. That's an interesting set of words there. Let the bridegroom and the bride come out of her closet. Next verse I want to read to you is in Micah. And we're in the 3rd chapter. Starting with verse 4. Then shall they cry unto Yahuwah, but he will not hear them, and he will even hide his face from them at that time, as they have behaved themselves ill in their doings. Thus saith Yahuwah concerning the prophets that make my people err, that bite with their teeth and cry peace. Let me back up and just say that again. Thus saith Yahuwah concerning the prophets that make my people err, and bite with their teeth and cry peace, he that putteth not into their mouths, they even prepared war against him. Therefore night shall be unto you, and ye shall not have a vision, and it shall be dark unto you, and ye shall not divine, and the sun shall go down over the prophets, and the day shall be dark over them. Then shall the seers be ashamed. You know of a certain Canton man calling himself a seer. And by this time he should be ashamed with all the false prophecies he's been making with his so-called codes. On to the next verse. We're in Habakkuk, another prophet concerning the end times. Or speaking to the end times. 3. Excuse me, let me back up to 2. O Yahuwah, I have heard thy speech and was afraid. O Yahuwah, revive thy work in the midst of the years. In the midst of the years, make known in wrath, remember mercy. Yahuwah came from Teman, and the Holy One from Mount Parah, Selah. And his glory covered the heavens, and the earth was full of his praise. And his brightness was as the light, and he had horns coming out of his hands. And I have a feeling that this is the piercings. And there was lightning, and there was hiding of his power. Before him went pestilence, and the burning coals went forth his feet. And he stood and measured the earth, and beheld, it drove asunder the nations, and the everlasting mountains were scattered. The perpetual hills did bow down, and his ways are everlasting. This next one is Zechariah. End time prophecy. We're in the 3rd chapter, starting with verse 1. And he showed me Joshua, the high priest, standing before the angel of Yahuwah, and Satan standing at his right hand to resist him. Satan is standing before the Father at this moment, folks. When we see something hit the earth of significance, of a wormwood significance, then we know Hasatan is cast out of heaven. That's how we know that. It is a clear sign that happens. He's given us that in Revelation. So that hasn't happened. What is he doing? He's standing there accusing all of us right now. And Yahuwah said unto Satan, and the Adonai saying unto Satan, the Adonai rebuke thee, O Satan, even the Adonai that has chosen Jerusalem rebuke thee. Is not this a brand plucked out of the fire? Now Joshua was clothed with filthy garments, as he stood before the angel. Do you see this in Revelation? The filthy garments are exchanged and they're taken away. And he answered and spake to those who stood before him, saying, Take away the filthy garments. And he said unto him, Behold, I have caused thine iniquity to pass from thee, and I will clothe thee with raiment. He was clothed with light, folks. And he set a fair mitre upon his head. He was given a crown, and they set a fair mitre upon his head. And they clothed him with garments. And the angel of the Adonai stood by. And the angel of the Adonai protested unto Joshua, saying, Thus saith Yahuwah of hosts, Sabaoth, if thou wilt walk, is that right? Yahuwah Sabaoth, right there. Well, it's hard to tell in these translations of this particular Bible code where they'd use Lord here, folks. So I try to change it in middle of reading this. So please have some patience with me. I'm trying to be respectful to the Father in His name. Thus saith the Yahuwah of Sabaoth, if thou wilt walk in my ways, and if thou wilt keep my charge, then shalt thou also judge my house, and shall also keep my courts, and I will give thee places to walk among these that stand by. This is the one who is called the branch, folks. So look at the end time pattern that is evolving here, right before your eyes in this table. Next verse. Now look at this. Right here. It's also Zechariah. 12th chapter. And I got, let's start at 4. In that day, saith Yahuwah, I will smite every horse with an astonishment, and a rider with madness. And I will open mine eyes upon the house of Judah. He will turn again his face to the house of the Jew, folks. That is Judah. When you say Jew, that's talking about the tribe of Judah, not Israel, Judah. And I will smite every horse of the people with blindness. The governors of Judah shall say in their heart, the inhabitants of Jerusalem shall be my strength in the Adonai of Sabaoth, their Elohim. And in that day I will make the governors of Judah like the hearth of a fire among the wood, and like the torch of a fire in a sheaf. And they shall devour all the people round about, on the right hand and on the left. And Jerusalem shall be inhabited again in her own place, even in Jerusalem. And Yahuwah shall save the tents of Judah first, that the glory of the house of David and that glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Judah. And in that day Yahuwah defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem. He that is feeble among them in that day shall be as David, in the house of David shall be as Elohim, as the angel of Yahuwah before them. And it shall come to pass in that day that I will seek to destroy all the nations that come against Jerusalem. And I will pour upon the house of David, and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and supplication, and they shall look upon me, whom they've pierced, and they shall mourn for him as one mourn for his only son. And it shall be in bitterness as for him, as for the one that is in bitterness for his firstborn. That is a prophecy yet to come, folks. And it is a clear indicator that Yeshua is already here. When they see, that's why he kept his piercing, because they see it. And in that day there will be great mourning in Jerusalem. And as the mourning of Hadramimon in the valley of Megiddon. And the land shall mourn, and every family apart, and the family of the house of David apart, and their wives apart, and the family in the house of Nathan apart. And everyone is separated from their family here, as you can see. On down to this next one, which has Shemitah and judgment coming together in it. It's the Psalms. So look at this, what the Father says, or David has here in Psalm 37. And it's such a good one. Let me just back up and read this from the beginning. Can I just do that for you, folks? Psalms is such an awesome book. But hear what David says in the chapter 37, we'll start with 1. Psalm of David, fret not thyself. Hear this word, folks, you end-time believers. Fret not thyself of evildoers, neither be envious against the workers of iniquity. For they shall soon be cut down like grass, and wither as the green herb. Trust in Yahuwah and do good. So shalt thou dwell in the land, and verily shalt thou be fed. Delight thyself in Yahuwah, and he shall give unto thee the desires of thy heart. Commit thy way unto Yahuwah, and trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. And he shall bring forth thy righteousness as the light, and thy judgment as the noonday. Rest in Yahuwah, and wait patiently for him. Fret not thyself because of him who prospereth in his way, because of the man who bringeth wicked devices to pass. Cease from anger and forsake wrath. Fret not thyself in any wise to do evil, for evildoers shall be cut off. But those that wait upon the Adonai, they shall inherit the earth. Yet for a little while the wicked shall not be. Yea, thou shalt diligently consider his place, and it shall not be. But the meek shall inherit the earth, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of shalom. The wicked plotteth against the just, and gnashing upon him with his teeth. Remember that in Matthew 24, the gnashing of teeth? Isn't that in there? There be gnashing of teeth in hell.
Yeah.
And Yahuwah shall laugh at him, for he seeth that his day is coming. The wicked have drawn out the sword, and have bent their bow to cast down the poor and the needy, and to slay such of the upright. And their sword shall enter into their own heart, and their bows shall be broken. And a little that a righteous man hath is better than the riches of the many wicked. For the arms of the wicked shall be broken, but the Adonai uphold the righteous. And the Adonai knoweth the days of the upright, and their inheritance shall be forever. And they shall not be ashamed in the evil time. In the days of famine, they shall be satisfied. Who is that, folks? Those who are called by his name, who know him. But the wicked shall perish, and the enemies of Adonai Yahuwah shall be as the fat of lambs. They shall consume into smoke, and they shall consume away. The wicked borrow and payeth not again, but the righteous showeth mercy and giveth. Listen to that. The wicked borroweth and payeth not again, but the righteous showeth mercy and giveth. For such as he be blessed of him shall inherit the earth, but he that be cursed of him shall be cut off. The steps of a good man are ordered by Yahuwah, and he delighteth in his way. Though he shall fall, he shall not utterly be cast down. For the Adonai uphold him with his hand. And I have been young, and now I'm old, yet I have not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging for bread. And his mercy, he is ever merciful, and lendeth, and his seed is blessed. Depart from evil, and do good, and dwell forevermore. 27 is right about where Shemitah is. You can see we're getting into that, and I apologize for reading so many verses, but folks, it's Psalms. It's one of the great ones, okay? So here's a promise right from the words given to David to you in the last days. It's a promise. For Yahuwah loveth judgment and forsaketh not his saints. They are preserved forever, but the seed of the wicked shall be cut off. The righteous shall inherit the land and dwell therein forever. The mouth of the righteous speaketh wisdom, and his tongue talketh of judgment. The law of Yahuwah is in his heart, and none of his steps shall slide. The wicked watcheth the righteous, and seeketh to slay him. And Yahuwah will not leave him in his hand, nor condemn him when he is judged. Wait on Yahuwah, and keep his way, and he shall exalt thee to inherit the land. All these promises, if you stay with him, he will stay with you, and you will inherit the land. When the wicked are cut off, thou shalt see it. I have seen the wicked in great power, and the spreading himself like a green bay tree. Yet he passed away, and lo, he was not. Yea, I sought him, but he could not be found. And 36 is down here, so I'm going to stop there. But that is a promise to the believer. And you can see it's in there with Shemitah and judgment. Down to this next one. Now this is the one that has from Lucifer running backwards with, you got the eagle at the top and the gates of fire, which is CERN. Here's what it says. We're in Psalms, and it's a 106 chapter. And that was counted unto him for righteousness unto all generations forevermore. And they angered him also as the waters of strife, so that it went ill with Moses for their sakes, because they provoked his spirit, so that he spake unadvisedly with his lips. They did not destroy the nations concerning whom Yahuwah commanded them, but were mingled among the heathen, and learned their works. And they served their idols, which were a snare unto them. The pagan practices, folks, that's what it's talking about. Here in verse 38, they shed innocent blood, even the blood of their sons and their daughters, and whom they sacrificed to idols of Canaan in the land was polluted with blood. And that is abortion. Right there. We have polluted, as a nation, and there are other nations guilty of this as well, but as a nation here in America, we are guilty of this. We've shed innocent blood, even the blood of our sons and our daughters, and whom were sacrificed unto the idols of Canaan, and the land was polluted with blood. Thus they were defiled with their works, and went a whoring with their own inventions. Tell me that's not America. Therefore was the wrath of Elohim kindled against his people, inasmuch as he abhorred his own inheritance. And he gave them into the hand of the heathen, and that hated them ruled over them. The enemies also oppressed them, and they were brought into subjection under their hand. When you disobey the Father, when you sacrifice your children, when you give into gay marriage and the gay agenda, all the things we're seeing in this downward spiral of this country, and I know I could be guilty of hate speech at some point, folks, and they're probably going to hammer me on that. But I'm telling you the truth. This country has fallen. Here in this table you can see, as the days of Noah, like they were doing then, we've fallen in depravity. And there's a fire coming to cleanse the land, to cleanse the whole of the land, all of the earth. Proverbs is his next verse I got highlighted here, around the 23rd chapter. Let me back up to 26.
Just to clarify, was this in the end of days?
This is as the days of Noah.
As the days of Noah.
As of days of Noah table, yeah. My son, give me thine heart, and let thine eyes observe my ways. For a whore is a deep ditch, and a strange woman is a narrow pit. She also lieth in wait as for prey, and she increases the transgressors among men. Who hath woe? Who hath sorrow? Who hath contentions? Who hath babbling? Who hath wounds without cause? Who hath redness of eyes? They that tarry long are in the wine, and they that seek mixed wine. Look not thou upon the wine which is red, and which is given in color to the cup, and is moveth itself aright. At last it biteth like a serpent, and stingeth like an adder. Thine eyes shall behold strange women, and thine heart shall utter perverse things. We are definitely seeing that kind of thing in mankind. The cup, listen, the whore of Babylon, the cup that's given to man to drink of the drunkenness of the perversions. You can see that here. It's like the serpent, biting like a serpent and stinging like an adder. Here's the verse that has rapture and the war together. Now, keep in mind, rapture or taken right here.
Okay, can I clarify something real quick?
Yes.
This, as the days of Noah, does not look like that one.
That's because this is a progression of...
It's a progression.
Right.
Okay.
That is and I said that. You see comments right there. Comment is in here.
Okay.
So this would have been the first time I worked on it.
Okay.
And then more got added. See the fire from the gates of hill.
Right.
It's the same table. It's just a progression.
Okay,
So
I see.
the
So
one
this
I
line
gave
here
you a
is
link
that.
to would have been what I'm looking at.
Okay. Well, I did pass that one on.
Okay, so they got the right one. Now let's look at this verse right here. Look at this. 9/11. When the towers fell. 9/11. When the towers fell. Context of the verse. Listen. And I returned and saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, neither yet bread to the wise, nor yet riches to men of understanding, nor yet favor to men of skill, but time and chance happeth to us all.
Audio out is what I'm hearing. Sound and audio out.
Are you kidding me?
No, just now. Just now.
Is it universal? Can you hear me? Is everybody hearing me?
We're not hearing you now.
Nobody's hearing me. We have no sound? Turn it on
Just
here.
as if I've got it up. It's not coming in. We may have to close out and read
They
it.
shut me down.
Okay, somebody says I hear you fine. They're hearing. I'm not hearing. That's weird. Some of us hear and don't. Some don't.
Are you following what's happening in the chatter?
Yes, I'm right here. That's why I'm just now telling you.
How long have they been saying? Who said that there was no sound?
They just said it.
Somebody
just said it,
trying
and
to interrupt.
I don't know. I don't have sound either. Jim Hitt said the sound and audio's out.
Jim, you got a MacBook? Is yours a MacBook? And you see the stuff we're reading right there? How the enemy works to disrupt.
They hear you.
Time and chance happens to them all, and that's in 9/11. And I said this earlier. Do you think there was no Christian believers that were in the towers when they fell? The Father harvested the evil and the righteous together, the wheat and the tares. Time and chance happen to us all. That's what we're written there in Proverbs, coming up in this table with rapture and war. Just saying. Just saying. You cannot depend or put all your eggs in a basket that a preacher of rapture is going to happen before all these things take place, folks. It's highly probable it will not. Just letting you know. So, all right, let's get back to it. This next verse, I believe this is Daniel. The mayor makes a debut on the channel. I'm sure that was going to... If you guys heard a turkey in the background, that's the mayor of the farm here. It's Daniel chapter 8. I'm going to start... Start with 17, where it is. And I heard a man's voice, 16, and I heard a man's voice between the banks of Ulai, which called and said, Gabriel, make this man to understand the vision. And so he came near, and I stood, and when he came, I was afraid, and I fell upon my face. But when he said unto me, Understand, O son of man, for at a time of the end shall be the vision. He's talking about a specific time. Now when he was speaking with me, I was in a deep sleep, and on my face toward the ground. But when he touched me, he set me upright. And he said, Behold, I will make thee know what shall be the last end of the indignation, for at the appointed time of the end shall be. And here you can see the red with that mem over here in the destroyer. That is Daniel. And that concludes the verses that I got highlighted. But roughly, 10 verses. I say 10 different places. The verses kept going. So I don't want to mislead you. That was definitely more than 10 verses. Some of them I read almost a half a chapter. But all in one place on this cylinder. As the days of Noah. Just one table. It's a lot of data there, a lot to search, and that's what I'm talking about in this kind of thing, where I need help doing this. The harvest is great, the workers are few, so that's why we're doing this. This is very, very much needed in these times where you have a lot of misinformation going on there. People are being led astray. What is the truth? What is the truth? Can it be ascertained from the codes? Can the codes be used as a tool to settle an argument? In hermeneutics, we look at, verse. If we have one thing that seems to contradict another, there's usually a third verse that settles the matter. That is a general rule. But what if it doesn't? What if it still seems to be vague? What if, people still spin verses to be a rapture when it's really talking about a second coming or the resurrection? How do you settle that? Is it possible? I think it is. So here we are in the last days with this tool, reconciling these things. And you can be a part of that in this training we have coming up. What do we got over here? Any questions?
You guys can put in your questions if you have any.
Yes, if you got any questions, because that's the end of the table, send them in to the chat. And did you pass them or should I plug that now? Should I tell them about that?
You can do
All
whatever
right.
you need to do now.
If you go to thecodesearcher.com, and I will go there with you.
Great idea.
It is a great idea. I don't want to. And I want to show you the site, the platform we're going to be working from.
This is brand new and it's still in the works.
And it's still very fluid. It's still being developed. There's a lot of work going to be done to it this weekend. It's kind of basic, but yet it's still full of a lot of information. And this is it here. This is the site, thecodesearcher.com. And you can find over here under apply, this is where you will get the application. You can also you can scroll through some of this and find charts and the different things here. Put your email address over here so we can contact you. These are the different posts down here. And so I encourage you, go over and check this out. A lot of information, still more information coming. There'll be more pages. There'll also be a place for the subscriber, the students that we'll be taking will have their own section where they'll get a lot of information the others will not have access to. But this is the initial page here, folks. What's wrong with my camera? There it is. I'm not so good with technology, but I'm thankful that Lord sends those that do know how to do things.
So I was reading some of the text you told about. They can just go right to the application on the website and
Yes.
apply there. It says apply.
Yes, you can apply there, and what you will get an application that is in a Google Forms format.
Google Docs, yeah.
And so you email that back to me. Now we've got half back. The ones that were requested, I sent out. We've got half of those back, and that's what I have here in my hands. So if you got your application, send it in because these slots are filling up. I suspect we have to do some modification to my my statement before about 25 students. There's a huge, as you can see there, a huge response, and people want to get involved and do this. And we will work you in there somehow.
Okay, Victoria Lynn is saying she has a question. I didn't know the importance of using the names of the Creator, but I know that I'm saved by calling on Jesus.
Well, sister, if you feel comfortable and faithful in doing that, then I'm not going to condemn you. There's no condemnation from me. I just know that there was an effort from the enemy to take the name from us, and so I want to know everything about the name and use the name. When the word says, restore his name, call upon his name, exalt his name, and all these references to his name, I think it's an important subject.
Also getting a restored name scriptures.
Yep.
It just helps so much when you're reading out of a scriptures that the pagan names have been taken out, and then we just have the pure names that are in the Hebrew.
Absolutely. And I know that upsets people, and they say, oh, Hebrew roots movement. Well, I mean, it's the end of the curse. That's what's going to happen. People are going to wake up and say, wait a minute. There's a name that we should be calling on. So what is it? It's not a title.
Dolores says, why do you think the New Testament is not encoded?
I never said the New Testament's not encoded. The New Testament is encoded. But free programs that you're seeing over there where they're giving you a generated matrix of the very first thing that you type in over there is your initial term. Everything after that, they're just looking to see if it's there with it. So it's a very rudimentary, it's not a program at all. But yeah, the New Testament is coded. The students that we're going to be teaching is going to learn on the Code Finder program that has the New Testament. We're going to see this. It is absolutely. I mean, I have nothing against the New Testament, but proper code search and proper program, yeah. But when you're over there spinning stuff out and making predictions left and right, and it's really about the misinformation, folks, to take away from the genuine. The enemy does that. He leads people astray. It's called agents of deception, minions. There's going to be a strong delusion in the end times. You can't even fathom the wickedness and the depths that the enemy will go to deceive you. Even from the pulpit. They'll get on YouTube and pretend like they're preaching. They might say Jesus all the time. Jesus, Jesus. Do you think demons tremble at that name? That name didn't exist until roughly 600, 500 years ago. And it comes from a Greek version of Zeus. That makes people mad. I understand it, but it's the truth, folks. Go and do your research. If you'd gone back to the time of Yeshua and you said Jesus, nobody would know what you're talking about. That word has no Hebrew meaning. It is a translation from Greek. I want to know the original. It's best to be among the original, not a translation or even inference of a Messiah. There you can get caught up in why does it say in the world when they come to him and they say, Lord, we cast demons out in your name, and he says, depart from me, you never knew you. They said, we did this in your name, I never knew you. How does that quantify? If there's power in the name, and you're casting out demons in the name, when demons will play the game too, they will, do what they got to do to deceive you. But when Yeshua says, depart from me, I never knew you. How is that even possible if you're casting out demons? Is it possible that you're deceived in using a name that only existed about 500 years ago? When they were casting out demons in Yeshua's time, they were using the name Yeshua was called in that time. Yahshua. It wasn't Jesus. That's a translation that comes later. If you've been saved under that name because of faith, yes, and because of what it says in the scriptures, the ignorance of the congregation, yes, you're saved by grace. But when you come into light, when you come into the knowledge, that's when you have to make the decision. Okay, do I stay in this, or do I progress on in this revelation? That is up to the individual. And for me, myself, I decided to move forward in it because I realize that there's an enemy greater than me who is skilled in deception. And I'm a mere human being, flesh and blood. I believe the Ruach HaKodesh revealed to me that there was an effort to hide the name from us because the scriptures said, call upon his name. Just saying, folks. I'm not telling you you're going to go to hell if you call on the name Jesus. I don't believe that one bit. I was saved under that name. But I came into a place where I realized his mama didn't call him that. The father didn't call him that. Translators later called him that. I'm going to put my trust in the Father. Just saying. Just saying. Go read what it says about the Church of Philadelphia in Revelation, who they are. Or should we do that now? Should it just do that? The one church that is, not going to be tribulating. What are the criteria of that? Does it have anything to do with a name? Let's just see. So that would be chapter 3. Chapter 3.
It's very small. So far.
Yeah, I'm still finding, here it is. Still small? All right. I just wanted to find it first. It is a few verses, but I wanted to find it first. Listen to what it says. Listen to what it says. This is important here. And to the messenger of the assembly in Philadelphia, write, he who is set apart, he who is true, he who has the key of David, and he who opens and no one shuts, and shuts and no one opens, says this, I know your works. See, I have set before you an open door that no one is able to shut. And you have little power, yet have guarded my word and have not denied my name. See, I am giving up those of the congregation of Satan who say they are Yehudim and are not, but a light. See, I am making them come and worship before your feet, and to know that I've loved you. Who? Those that have not denied his name. That's who. That's who Philadelphia is. How can you be called by his name if you deny his name? Makes sense? Church of Philadelphia, the ones who are not going to be tribulating, those are the ones who are called by his name, who are marked. The angel is sent out to mark those called by his name with what? His name on their foreheads. There you go. That's who the bride is. That's who will not go through tribulation. It tells you in Philadelphia, you didn't deny his name. You think you're going to stand before Yeshua after you've accused me of being a sacred namer, after you've denied his name, going to go on a rapture? It's not happening. It's not happening. Those are the only ones who are spared, is the ones that haven't denied his name. Go read the rest of it, and you will find that categorically, end-time people in the church will fit in one of those other 6 churches. Go and look. I'm telling you the truth. Thessalonica, Joel Osteen's of the world. Right? They say that they're rich and in need of nothing. Prosperity gospels, that's what it is. Prosperity churches. There's several of them, mega churches on TV that say we are rich and in need of nothing. There's a YouTube video called Money, 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 where it has Creflo Dollar and another African-American preacher running across the altar of a church with hundreds and thousands of dollars on the altar, running across it. They love money. You can find those churches in Revelation. But Philadelphia, I just read to you who that is. All these mentionings of the name, it has an importance, folks. You call me a sacred namer if you want to. It's important. Hallelujah. Well, I felt like preaching right there. Man. We got any other questions?
We seem to have some sort of...
I just kind of got off on a tangent when she says Jesus, which is fine, sister. You can call on him. I got saved under that name. But things changed when I come into Revelation. I'm not better than you either, by the way. I'm not better than anybody. I was just as low as any dirtbag in the world. But he had mercy on me. And I'm sharing that truth with you. So I'm not bad. I'm not, it's not, none of that. I'm not pretending to be, better than you or anything.
Can you get rid of that? Every time.
What was the argument about?
I'm not sure, I think.
Is it about rapture? It's usually the same things when people in chats
Painter says
argue.
Yeah, it's usually about Jesus, and Painter says that he says he's the Messiah. Last time he was fighting with Chris.
All right. Love one another. Hallelujah. All right. Yeah. I don't know what else I can say. You got to be careful of the deception in the world. It is full of it. And to navigate through YouTube and not running into some sort of garbage is almost impossible. You have to weed through the junk to get to the meat and bones of any channel. Yes, Bonnie says, play nice in the sandbox. I agree. Come on, guys. I don't want to have to ban anybody. So, anyway, that's what I had for the broadcast. You know, I wanted to show you what was in Matthew 24 and debut the channel with you. Share some of the things that are coming up. And just generally bless you tonight. I know that a lot have been looking for the rapture here recently. Somebody's been plugging that a lot. And there's probably been people seeing the argument that's ensued back and forth because I've been calling out this fraud. Hang in there and be encouraged, folks. You're going to get truth here. Even if I'm misled and I come into truth later, I'm going to share that with you and I'm going to admit that I was wrong because I'm not too big for that. So hang in there.
John asked, will there be an outpouring of the Ruach HaKodesh at the time of Pentecost, a Pentecost?
That's a good theory. I personally believe there is because that's when the first outpouring was. Well, actually, to be technical, the very first one was on Mount Sinai because with the Exodus, everything happened on a feast day, and Moses was actually with the Father on the very first Pentecost, and then the next was you can find in Acts where the Holy Spirit is poured out upon the disciples in the upper room. Then there will be in the latter times, which is called the latter rain, the Spirit will be poured out again, like in the days of the disciples, where when Peter walked past someone, his shadow healed somebody. That's how strong the anointing was. That's coming up, and I believe that's going to take place, during the times of trouble, the times of sorrow, where the Father is raising up His who are called by His name, and He's empowering them. And they're going out into the world to do great exploits.
Someone asked about how important is fasting.
It's very important. However, don't do it in public, and don't make a big. The word says don't, make a big deal about it. If you're going to do something like that, do it in private, and make it be between you and the Father. It is very important.
And then there's fasting at Yom Kippur.
Yeah, and then you like the fast at Yom Kippur, which is a requirement for that particular feast, is to deprive yourself of those things that relieve you of like if you have hunger pains, you go eat something, it relieves you of that pain. So the point is to not to ignore those things and to suffer through. It's to deny your body of any simple, pleasure like, a delectable custard or something like that. When you're craving that, you just don't do it. You have some self-control.
Abigail is asking again, in the tribulation table, what were the years? There was more than one? I thought you said last week it was 2015 and 2016.
Yeah, I think she's talking about a table that I looked up, a sequence of years, and that might be, it could be a tribulation. There's so many tables, folks, that they start running together for me. So I have to think. But I do believe that there was a sequence of sequential years in one. It may be tribulation. I may be wrong about that. I'll have to go and look. But there's a misunderstanding. Some people say the last years that appear in the codes are 2016 or 2015, 2016. That's not necessarily true. They appear more than any other. Every once in a while, you may find something like 5777, which is next year, but not as much as 2015, 2016, which indicates that these are incredibly important years. So what does it mean when you don't see? I don't know what it means. This is not an exact science like, came with textbooks with all the answers. A lot of time the Father or the Ruach will reveal as we need to know it. You heard me say before, I'm on a need-to-know basis sometimes. Sometimes He does not let me see too far ahead because, I might freak out. So He only lets me see so far and keeps me calm, because there are times where I can kind of get worked up and kind of worried, seeing these things happen in the world. no rapture yet. This is when I'm believing pre-trib. No rapture yet, and all this is happening. What's going on, Father? You remember me trying to reconcile this rapture thing, subscribers who've been with me a while. So, yeah.
What will be the strong delusion?
That could have something to do with aliens. My opinion on that is the aliens. The Catholic Church talks about they're looking for life on other planets and stuff. I believe it's all about fallen angels. So they're definitely not going to talk about fallen angels, but people are more willing to believe in aliens than angels. So there's definitely a delusion there. Mandela effect. I just found strong delusion in the codes, and Mandela effect is right there with two demons connected to the word. So these are the things we're talking about. People are even elect believers who know their word are being deceived.
I believe the strong delusion is something we already grew up in.
Yeah, there's different theories on this. You want to tell yours? Tell that.
Yeah, I believe it's the names that we grew up in, because they took Yahuwah's name out of our translation, so that it was a way of controlling the masses, because those in elite places, they have all of this secret hidden knowledge they've tried to keep hidden. We've heard about hidden knowledge before for the Illuminati to have. This is the stuff they knew. They knew Yahuwah's name. They knew his son's name, but they didn't want the people knowing it. They sure did not, because they didn't want us proclaiming his name and calling upon his name. That's what he told us to do. He said, do not bring my name to vain emptiness, for I will not hold the one accountable who brings my name to vain nothingness, emptiness. And so that's exactly what has happened. The men in high positions decided the people would not know his name, would not call upon his name. They were killed for calling upon his name at the time Yahushua was living. And that's one of the things that he did. He said in John 17, he taught the people, he taught his disciples Yahuwah's name. He taught them his name.
Yeah, that's why when he walked by, the Talmudim said, how does he know the letters? They didn't say scriptures, folks. They said letters. And what letters were they talking about? They were talking about the Father's name, the names that were hidden. At that time, the Levites were the only ones that knew the name. They were the only ones that had access to it. Because in Babylon, the sages, and I share that with you, it's in the Talmud, the sages decided to change the name to Adonai and Elohim to hide it. And it was only done with dots in the text. It's called vowel points. When they saw these vowel points, they knew either to say, even though it said Yod He Vav He there, they knew to say either Adonai or Elohim. So at the time of Yeshua, the name, several years later, not several hundred years later, roughly, 70 years later? When was this? They were in Babylon, and then...
Yeah, they had 70 years, exactly.
So, less than 100 years, they'd already forgotten his name within the population. Within a generation. So, that's all it took. So, Yeshua comes on the scene, and he's saying a name. And these Pharisees are standing around going, how's he know the letters? He was saying the name. He says it in his prayer. I revealed your name to them, the ones you gave me. So.
Brenda's saying, please expound upon the scripture, 1 Corinthians 6:12. All things are lawful unto me, but all things are not expedient. All things are lawful for me, but I will not be brought under the power of any. We
Right.
don't have any context there, first of all.
Right. I think this is Paul who was who's talking about not being what's the word? I have to go there and actually look. Say that again.
1
1 Corinthians
6 and the verses 12.
1 Corinthians 6. I gotta take it down to where I can see these keys. 1 Corinthians 6. And what verse?
12.
Verse 12. settling arguments among believers. Is that what we're talking about here? All things, excuse me, our bodies are members of Christ, it says. Excuse me. All things are lawful. I had a beverage sip a minute ago, now I've got a hiccup. All things are lawful unto me, but all things are not expedient. All things are lawful for me, but I will not be brought under the power of any. Meats for the belly, and belly for meats. But Yahuwah shall destroy both in it and them. And now the body is not for fornication, but for Yahuwah, and for Elohim the body. And Yahuwah hath both raised up the Adonai and also raised up by his own power, and yet ye have not in your bodies, we are the members of Christ. We shall take the members of Christ and make them members of a harlot. So I'm trying to get the concept of what this person's asking me here.
Yeah, like I said, it's hard without the context of what's going on.
I'm trying to decide if this person is trying to jab at me and imply something here, or if there's a legitimate question. And those are the kind of things you have to take into consideration, how you want to answer this. Because Paul was definitely saying something here, and he's saying something very deep.
We'll just go with what he's saying.
Well, he says, all things are lawful unto me, but all things are not expedient, which are not, are not convenient. And all things are lawful for me. But, the kosher thing, for example, there are things that are not, lawful to eat, and there was discussions in that time when you're in the presence of heathen in their house, the story with Peter, and he says to eat of these things. I think that's what this is talking about, or alluding to when it talks about meat of the belly and the belly for meats, and Yahuwah shall destroy both and them. Now the body is not for fornication, but for Yahuwah, and for Yahuwah the body. I don't understand what's the allusion, what's misunderstood there. So,
Do you think the Day of Atonement, which also falls on Tabernacles, is significant to the, maybe this is supposed to say coronation. Atonement is
that's Yom Kippur. That's not
5
Tabernacle.
days before.
Yeah, that's Yom Kippur, not Tabernacles. The Day of Atonement.
Is it significant to the coronation? I guess it's saying, it says correlation. I think maybe she means correlation.
Do you mean coronation, which the coronation day, incidentally, is Yom Torah as well. It's also the day of judgment, or the day the windows of heavens open up and the books are opened.
Becky's saying go back to verse 8.
Go to verse 8. I don't know. Now, therefore, so what are we talking about here?
It wasn't Becky's question, so Becky was just drawing attention to verse 8.
She wants me to go back to verse 8?
Yeah.
All right. How about start at 7? Now, therefore, see, it's hard to start in the middle of something, and
Yeah.
when you really need to look back into the start of the chapter.
Need context,
To-
not just
exactly.
pull a soundbite out.
You can't just grab a soundbite out and expect to understand the context there. You got to read the whole thing. So just backing up just a little bit, it says, now therefore there is utterly fault among you, because ye go to law one with another. Why do ye not rather take wrong? Why do ye rather suffer yourself to be defrauded? Nay, ye do wrong and defraud, and that of your brethren. Still, this, in the context of this, is talking about lawsuits between believers. If we just back up, it says, dare any of you, having a matter against one another, go to law before the unjust. and not before the saints. So you would go before Babylon before you go before the brethren. Do you not know that the saints shall judge the world, and the world shall be judged by you? Are you unworthy to judge the smallest matters, knowing that you were... so by the time you get down to 12, we're talking about, I guess straining at a gnat in some instances. Now therefore it is utterly fault among you, because you go to the law with one another. Now, they're throwing the law at one another, like kosher laws. Like, I don't eat pork and shellfish and things like that. I don't condemn other people, but there's some people that will, who eat of those things. So I don't know. We're getting sidetracked here.
I got one I want to look at, because somebody said, "Isn't his name I am that I am?" Isn't that what it says? It's in Exodus 3. Can we just read that from 13 to 18?
How are we getting?
Because this is about sound bites. That's what it's about.
It was about Matthew 24 when I started.
Okay, you asked for questions, and here's a question.
Okay, so what? Exodus what?
Exodus 3. So we're not going to take a sound bite. We're going to read several verses there. 13 to 18 in the ISR, please.
Chapter what? 3?
Chapter 3, verses 13 to 18. It's very important, because these are what you call sound bites.
13 to 18. And then we're going to wrap it up, guys. And Moshe said unto Elohim, See, when I come to the children of Israel, say unto them, The Elohim of your father has sent me to you. And they said unto me, What is his name? And what shall I say unto them? And Elohim said unto Moshe, I am that which I am. And he said, Thus shall you say unto the children of Israel, I am has sent me to you. I am. And Elohim said further to Moshe, Thus you are to say to the children of Israel, Yahuwah Elohim of your fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, and the Elohim of Yitzhak, and the Elohim of Jacob, has sent me to you, and this is my name forever. This is my remembrance to all generations. Go, and you shall gather the elders of Israel together, and say unto them, The Yahuwah Elohim of your fathers, and Yahuwah Elohim of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Jacob, appeared to me, and I have indeed visited with you, and seen what is done to you in Mitzrayim. And that is 16.
17 and 18.
Oh. And I said, I'm bringing you up out of the affliction of Mitzrayim to the land of Canaanite, and the Hittite, and the Amorite, and the Pezerite, and the Huite, and the Jebusite, and the land of flowing of milk and honey. And they shall listen to your voice, and you shall come, you and your elders, to Israel, and to the sovereign Mitzrayim, and you shall say unto him, Yahuwah Elohim of the Hebrews has met with us, and now please let us go 3 days' journey into the wilderness to slaughter Yahuwah, to Yahuwah our Elohim.
Okay. So the question was about, isn't his name I am that I am? Okay, so Kit Kat Caitlin says, hour of what temptation if the rapture happens after the Great Trib, Revelation 3:10, trying to understand the question. We don't understand your question. Hour of what temptation if the rapture happens after the Great Trib, Revelation 3:10.
We got into Revelation in the first place because I was demonstrating that who Philadelphia was.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So
and that was in Revelation 3.
That wasn't an open door to start dissecting Revelation, by the way. So let me just put that out there. We'll get into that some other time. It's 10 o'clock already, Mountain Time, so we're going to wrap it up right here, folks. hate to do that, but we could go on and on all night with that. We started out with a topic, Matthew 24. So, again, what was that? The days of Noah. And by this time, we're in dissecting Revelation. So, yeah. We're going to close it out right here. If there's no other relevant questions,
Yeah.
we'll see you again tomorrow night, guys. We're going to be right back here again, and we'll be continue reading. You're shaking your head no?
No, my computer's just not on the page. I have to pull it, close Safari and start over. It's just me.
All right. No worries.
There we go.
Well, I
I'm
can't
back.
see what's going on with the
I'm
chat or
sorry, back
anything.
now.
Doing live stream, you know,
There we go.
there's no margin for error. Shalom, guys. We love you. Yeshua loves you. And we will see you tomorrow night. Shalom.